Hello, friends. This is Alan, your practicing poet. Today we're reading poetry. We're not going to go over paintings. We're not going to go over book sales. Okay, we'll mention some book sale information quickly. So here we go. Let's see if I can do this right. Here we go. Okay, so hope it didn't miss. There we go. So all winter series are available. So far, they're being published on ebooks. I got that done. Barnes and Noble, Kobo, Smashwords. March will have a sale. That's on those online stores. So online stores will be available. Just do a search with my name, Alan Adrian Tompkins, and you'll find all the books that are available through these sites. And please sign up for their accounts because I think you'll have more discounts available if you're especially a member with, say, Amazon Kindle, Kobo, Barnes and Noble, and so forth. There are so many others. And don't forget your libraries have Overdrive. When you use a book or you request a book through Overdrive, the costs are, how do you say it? Exponential, meaning that they compound. So if you get a book, you read a book, then a portion of those proceeds eventually come to me. 15 cents or something like that. But that's how that works. Over to, I don't have, let's try to speak English, not figuratively speaking. On Amazon, let's see. Okay. And I have to fix this with Submittable. You write my name in here. Not Amazon. The other one. Okay. You go to books, select all, where the all is, and go to books. Click there. And write my name. Alan Adrian Tompkins. Or the book you are interested in. And these are all the books that I've done. Now it doesn't bring, maybe it will. Okay. It also brings up associated books using different pen names. So if you don't see it here, please contact me. Here are the same books I showed you on Kobo. On Barnes and Draft to Digital, which is a distributor to these places. And don't forget that I make all the covers. I do all the designing and all the detail work. So these little green tabs are meant to be there for these. You can get hardcover and paperback cover on that series. So what I wanted to bring up first, and of course I'm skimming through here, is that I recently put the fiction. All the fiction is done. I will not be creating any more fiction books. And don't forget that I did have the children's book that I showed you in the last video, and it's a workbook. So time off with the children. You know, these are exercises and stories that will grow with time with your reader. Some of them are, the general age is 4 to 8 years old, but as you know, we go back to stories that we like. So, and some of them are influenced by everyday situations, such as a fun one is, of course, I have to find it for you, gobbledygook. I didn't know gobbledygook was based on political or politics. So it introduces your child and yourself into the political world and how news and how advertising and political commentaries can be construed. And that's more of a play. So So that and other ones are fun. So, so that's why it's called Family, Fun, and Friendships, because it creates that. Expressions from Indivisible Souls is a new paperback. At your service, Puppy Dreams. That's a word play. It's meant to be spelled like that. Ebb and Flow, The Shore Gives, influenced by the Gifts from the Sea, from, who is it? From a well-known author. You'll have to do the research. But it's my own take on it, and of course it's all poetry. This is an epic poem series, which I've designed the cover, or had this cover designed. Yeah, this one I had the cover designed, because it also has a musical attached to it that I've worked through with some people, or online. So this is The Silver Girl, and it's based on Thumbelina, yeah, the Matchbox Girl, as well as The Man Behind the Mask. You can read up on the description of that. But again, paperback and hard copy, and they're low cost. Of course, that's what's going on now in the marketplace. And Famage is new. I didn't put any illustrations to that, but I'm working on some. I will be working on some watercolor paintings, designs. Miriam Shapiro was known for her action, and so I'm transferring the action into illustrated images that you can see, you can browse through. So those 4 books are new. I will be working on 2 new ones. I probably will not make these hard copies because they're more accessible as paperback. So what I'll be doing is probably, after some time, I'll probably be reducing these prices, as well as the fiction ones in prior writings. So, but I will have to tell you that Family, Fun, and Friendships for 14 Traveling Stories for New Readers is paperback already. So the prices of that and the hard copies are reasonable, considering that they're 14 long stories and they're a workbook for your child. And in the back of them, I also I provide places where you can do photocopying, photocopying of squares where your child can make copies so your child can draw. So they don't have to draw in the book. So, and of course, you don't even have to use those squares. You can just use a piece of paper. But with disabled individuals who have difficulty reading, as I know, it's good to have a page where focus can happen, especially in the world of so many distractions. So I'm hoping that this book will help you and your family. So contemporary family or not, just a traditional family in a sense. So those are 5 6 books that I've worked on for you, and hopefully they will help you illuminate your life as well as they have for me. And again, I haven't provided the last 3 that I hear, Ebb and Flow, Puppy Dreams, and Indivisible Souls. I have not provided that in ebook yet, but I will for Barnes and Noble in the coming year, maybe. Let's give it 5 months, okay? Because I am working on 2 projects that I'm going to show you now. And this came from conversations with my brother, who's recently been sick with a cold. Hopefully it's not a flu, but he works outdoors a lot. So let's go into this, and we'll make it quick because I did read some to you, and I'm going to read some poems, recent poems to you. Hopefully that'll help me to edit them. And I'm going to put on my glasses, so that'll make it easier for me. So the books are called Pogue, which is poetic songs, and mimesis, which is based on the I'm all about voice now and tonality, but mimesis comes from the Greek of mimicry. As you know, with popular music nowadays, it's easy to pick up one of these here and also record your voice and also memorize things. Now, I'm not I'm not a poet who does speaking performances, because I don't think poetry should be like that. However, that seems to be the new trend in the market. So what I'm trying to do is to make my ballads, epic writing, so forth, less poetic and more lyrical, as opposed to verses, and to make them more accessible within the recent I want to say vernacular, because that's not what I'm saying, in the common language in my world, in my life in New York State. So hopefully that'll help you also. Most recent ones from mimesis is I'm influenced by my I took a chance and I started writing poems about the use of using caffeine. This is talking about previous relations with teachers or education, or as a teacher. And there's 3 or 4 poems that I wrote here for my dog, who recently had a hernia operation, which was, it was costly, but also amazing, because I'm finding with this animal or creature that I have to take care of, I'm learning to take care of myself and be more sensitive to myself. And I think that's really what poetry is about. And if that reflects mimesis or mimicry in your life, as a poetess or a poetry writer or performer, then I've done my job. So those 5 poems I've just written, so I have to draft those and I have to edit those for you. I will give you a sneak peek of what this one was, because it's kind of funny. It's called Seriously Though, Dog It. It isn't a sad situation after 2 years waiting to find the courage to accept the responsibilities of caring for you the way you watched me in the dust and dim hours. So, and of course, so that's that one, and that's going to be in this book. I want to briefly just show you, because I don't want to spoil the surprise. But I've been working on, as you know, with Canva, I've been working on covers and cover design. And so this cover for Pogue has been created after several hours. So, and I thank you to Canva and all the accessible tools that are available for me as a poet, poor disabled poet. Don't have any sympathy for me. But anyway, that's what we do, because we're writers and we're artists. We starve and we strive for our craft. So this is the new cover for that Pogue. And let me see if I have anything I want to read to you. I'm going to shrink this down to 75%, so it's easy to. So remember I told you it was in 3 sections. So let me see. Excuse me a second. And of course, the second part starts with chapter 1. So, and third part starts after chapter 5 with White Pines. So I want to read, I think I read White Pines. I want to read this one because this is fun. And I'm making it quick, of course. And I did go over some of these. So the last 3 poems came about after our last conversation about this book. So I'm going to put on my glasses and I'm going to read this. And maybe you want to read my lips because you may have some reading differences. So here I go with making it bigger for me. And it's called For Poetists. That means people who write, in the Greek, they're poetry, and it conveys, I forget what poetess is. Let me just bring it up. Hey Google, what is poetess?
I can't help with responses on elections and political...
No, I'll just write it in here. This is one way you can do it, too. And go there. Poetess is a term that comes from the ancient Greek. It has a rich and complex meaning. Here's a breakdown. The core meaning is, at its heart, poetess. Okay. Yeah, I did it right. Let's check my spelling. The making or bringing into being. I call it making the thing. It refers to the process of creating something that didn't exist before. This can apply to a wide range of things, from physical objects to a work of art, or even a system of thought. And so it goes into philosophy, it goes into Aristotle, Heidegger, who brings forth optimism. He was a philosopher. Examples, art, craftsmanship, technology, thought, and of course music and poetry. Poetess versus mimesis. This is why I want to read this poem. In the context of art, poetess is often contrasted with mimesis, which means the imitation or representation of something. Which I'll read one for you, and you'll see what the representation is. Some poetry, when new poets are learning it, they do imitations or mimicry or mimesis. So that's a breakdown. But poetess is more of bringing the creative into being, such as a free poem or a blank poem, or even a conceptual visual poem about love. I'm not sure in school if you've done acrostic poems. You write down poetry, Poetry, down, and then each letter means a word of virtue, if you will. And you can do that on your own. That's a prompt. You're welcome. In the context of art, poetess is often contrasted with mimesis, which means imitation or representation. While mimesis focuses on the reproduction of something that already exists, poetess is about creating something original. So my mimesis, as you will find out, I won't spoil it for you, is about that. It's about the modern usage. The terms of so in summary, poetess is a powerful concept that encompasses the act of making or creating process, the creative process, and the bringing forth of something new. It has significant implications for our understanding of art, technology, and the human existence. You're welcome. So this poetess is ending this collection with 45 pages of poetry. They're not 45 poems, folks, but the time spent is probably 45 poems worth. So I'm not cheaping you out or anything. Poetess, for poetess, if it's a person or not, it's the making of the process. You have something that is more than what we are all of. Mother Nature's humanity, nurturing, eternal, as infinitely given freely, kindly, given back without vanity. So it's honor in the process of poetry, and that's where contemporary poetry, I don't want to say modern because that's a different era, where today's poetry is going. Most books and which I've recently learned, most chapbooks and stuff like that are going with concepts and thematic themes. So in poetess is more not about, it's so not about the finished product, it's about the process. So like in a sonnet, at the end the two couplets mostly refer back to the beginning stanzas, and then you can continue to read it in a more lyrical manner with the end rhymes and rhyme schemes and internal and external rhymes, assonance and consonants. So the point is that this is the one book I just finished, hasn't been published yet. I might even submit it, but I don't like submittable because a lot of the publishers and people take years, and not years, but months to get back to you and respond to you. They say 3 months is the limit, but who has the time to follow up with these people who don't follow up with you? And I understand most of them are volunteer, because poet editors are few and far between, which shouldn't be the case, but here we are. Okay, so that's Poetic Songs, Pogue, and there. So, and I'm going to read from Mises for you. I'm not going to read the new 4 poems. I'm going to read to you poems that are worked on, have been worked on. So, and then I'm going to let you go because it's almost a half an hour. Yeah. And I got to be conscious of these messages that are coming and going. Yeah. Okay. So this is the new cover or this is the working cover, I should say, for Mimesis. I'm not going to show you the new cover because I'm almost done with it, but I'm not done with it. And it's not this. Now, for this Mimesis cover, it's going to be black and white. It's going to be an insert. The reason being is I like the classic tone that it has, and of course it's going to be grayed out a little. And I call it mimesis, my interrogation of the figurative word. Figurative language is hyperbole, euphemisms, what else? Figurative language. Irony, sarcasm, so forth and so on. These are devices of figurative language that people use, and you hear them mostly in comedy, so or in sitcoms, and they use figurative language most of the time. And it can be considered as a deviant language, sarcasm being one of them, or even I don't want to say that curses are a figurative language, but when someone curses accidentally, they say excuse me for my French or my figurative language, which has no real connotation with the French culture. It's just they're saying excuse me for my my figurative language. So I say figurative word, which means the embodiment of the word itself, biblically speaking or not. And of course, I'm not happy with this, but it'll have to work. It'll have to do. So I'll go like this. Okay, and that'll be fine. And then it gives my name, which I wanted to bring into the bold, since it's really also talking about the mimesis is the mimicry and representation of the modern language and how it influences my writing. As I transition into not only verses and lyrics, but also more of the sound and the frequency of the poem that's coming to be, which is the poetess, or poetese, if you will, of it. The poetics, let's just say that. So this is the poems that I've worked on since. You can see poetesses are there. So I have For the Next Meal, Middle Eastern Hummus, which has to do with food, The Paginator, which has to do with my relationship with pagination, the mourner fencing, a mourner fencing. That's me still dealing with the loss of my older sister and how to, and of course, reflecting on the days lost, if you will. I don't mean to be morbid, but or depressed, but it's talking about how the memory or the moment we just had together, say for instance with me and the dog, there's so many good moments, and then yet we have to go on to the next moment and venture into that and try to survive and strive and thrive for the next moment. So I've been reading older poetry. My initial graduate work course, Courting the Moment, was influential of that. For the poetess, I don't know if I should say poetress, but I say poetess. How's that? Ode to My Fingernails. It's metaphysically talking about how poetry and the labor of poetry and art and stuff like that is still labor, and it does affect your hands, and your hands are affected by the work. If you've been writing for over 20 years, you know that the aches and pains and the constant sitting and tapping out these verses and these lines, not only for ourselves but for others, to share that. So I'm going to read the latest one, To My Superficial Radiance, and then I might venture back into the other. Okay, so hold in there, and I know it's almost a half an hour, but please hang in there with me. And don't forget to write comments, subscribe, recommend me to other people, and if you can, make donations, because as a writer, poet, and artist, we do not make millions of dollars for our work that we labor over eternally. If you know a poet or an artist, sometimes they're waking up working. So this is one of my things. One of what I have done as a writer, poet, activist for disabled, marginalized individuals. So, and I continue to do that. So these 2 books aren't published yet, so we have the other 6 you can look at. And always working on the paintings. So let me minimize this so I can read. You can see the whole thing, and then, or maybe I won't. Yeah, okay. I'll maximize it so I can read it. How's that sound? And then I'll take out the tabs so you can focus in on that. Hopefully you can see me. Hopefully you have a bigger screen and you can read along. And again, if you're having problems reading something, maybe you can do a screen print and do that.
To My Superficial Radiances. After 15 minutes, as the dawn lights the barn elves, we notice a spider's web with the word radiant. As everyday folk visited the autumn ranch, we all speculated if the sign was the pig's name, as radiant shimmered in the morning sun. It was difficult to consider the practical talents. To many, it was unbelievable and almost commercial. Enough for many women folk to repeat superficially, as if they traced the slants and webbed lettering, A chorus of octaves in unison ended abruptly. Enough, so nothing was lost from the event. Not to reflect upon the solitary achievement. To my superficial radiances. After 15 minutes, as the dawn lights the barn elves, we notice a spider's...
And of course, that's not elves, it's called eaves. So I'm just going to fix that just to make sure. And this is one way we edit. Eaves. Barn eaves. Barn eaves. The eaves on the barn. Okay. And see, now I think the spelling is wrong. So, and of course, you got to turn off the microphone. Okay, maybe it's not eaves. I'm not sure if it's IES or that, but I think that'll work. Let's just see and see how that sounds for you. And of course, we want the whole poem, so I want to end it with the whole poem. So let's see, make sure. Yeah, okay.
As radiance shimmered in the morning sun, it was difficult to consider the practical talents. To many, it was unbelievable and almost commercial. Enough for many women folk to repeat superficially, as if they traced the slants and webbed lettering. A chorus of octaves in unison ended abruptly. Enough, so nothing was lost from the event. Not to reflect upon the solitary achievement, rather observed with levity and leverage, and speculative bet among men. No one really won in the end. Where our topic of conversation remained. As radiance shimmered in the...
So I found some things that I might want to change. Their chorus of octaves in unison ended abruptly. Enough so nothing was lost from the event. Not to reflect upon the solitary achievements or achievement, rather observed with levity and leverage and speculative bets of men, by men, among men. No one really won in the end, where our topics of conversation remains. Remain. And I put remain instead of remains. Okay? So, and I'll read it again. To my superficial radiance, after 15 minutes, as the dawn lights the barn eaves, we noticed a spider's web with the word radiant. As every folk visited the autumn ranch, we all speculated if the sign was the pig's name. As radiant shimmered in the morning sun, it was difficult to consider the practical talents. To make it, to many, it was unbelievable and almost commercial, enough for many women folks to repeat superficially, as if they traced the slants and the web lettering. Their chorus of octaves in unison ended abruptly, enough so nothing was lost from the event, not to reflect upon the solitary achievement, rather observed the levity and leverage and the speculative bets among men. No one really won in the end, where our topics of conversation remained. So, and of course, the topic of conversation came out of a date where I was told, let's just keep it superficial, and I said, well, okay, what's your ranch name? And the person said radiance. And so therefore the poem came about. So that's, taking a conversation out of context and also enveloping it or folding it into a poem based on Charlotte's Web, based on the betting of men, based on the use of pigs as objects of political and literary connotations. Figurative language, we use the word pig for many figurative languages. We hear it also in the music, in the advertising, in our solitary achievements of such poetry, and we try to leverage and use that as levity in our leveraging of poetry and figurative language itself. And so we use that to convey our interpersonal feelings to one another, and we try to make, as egos, we try to make one better than the other, or the moment better than the last, and the person and the pig better than the person, and so all those come into play at the conclusion, right? So the conclusion rounds it out and says, who won in the end? And I think we all are winners in our own conversation of life and humanity. So back to this. I'm going to start with the first poem that initiated this mimesis a poetess initiated it in my seeking for what the traditions of poetry was and what the purpose of poetry is, and why we use poetry. And one of the things poetry was used for, of course, as many of you know, is to use it as inaugurations and traditional introductions into, say, Veterans Day, or to remember lost veterans that I was thinking of. Or how about Washington's birthday, or Lincoln's birthday, or Thanksgiving, or Christmas? All these special events, maybe perhaps St. Patty's Day, for those people who are interested in the St. Patrick himself, or even Santa Claus, if you will. But of course, there's other holidays which I don't know about culturally, but I'm willing to learn and what they mean. I can only reflect upon what I know and what I've heard and how I feel about holidays and how they reflect upon me. So, long story short of it, I'm also influenced by international writings styles in the visual writing, as I've written in my last video about calligraphy, Sanskrit, and the influence of mural, graffiti, and writings, and fonts, and so forth. So that came about also. So let me read this one, if you would. Hopefully it's not keeping you. Hopefully you like poetry as much as I do. This is came about with the same conversations that I've been talking to you about. So, excuse me, people are contacting me. So this should go quick. And we're always wondering about, as homeless people or poor people or low-income people who do not, even people who are working excessively, where's the next meal coming from? Or if you're in a big family and you have a single parent, where's the next meal coming from? And we're dealing with that recently with the high costs of even eggs in our community now. So where's the next breakfast coming from? Where's the next meal of, I think for Vietnamese, no. For Taiwan, no. For some Asian third world cultures, I think it's Vietnamese. Yeah, the Vietnamese culture, they put eggs in mostly all their dishes. So, where's the next meal coming from? So, for my next meal, which is also talking to the next meal, right? So we're including the next meal. I inquire, what's on the menu, considering my economics, as the month comes to a close. I being with an ending, watching a crayfish encapsulated, incubation as little Easters do. I don't hate the zygotes and seldom little lamb. I can put lambs, of course, as we go into Lent. Through mutton, though, sorry, and seldom lambs, though mutton is a dog. Though mutton is a dog, a stone that poet threw up. A stone that a poet threw up. It's a play on words, sorry folks. Or, how about or? A stone a poet throws up. As we develop into leaders, people of the public, Republicans of the Republic, that praise for their presidents, agitating in the laundromat. Though politics are more sarcastic than they are polite to democracy. The dryer warms the linen garments. Sincerity is all the craze or rave. Rather is somewhere in between, if you are keen to hook the pitch. The jazz of gospel lyricist, the anger of the congresswoman, the lack of my legislation for prosperity. And what I'm thinking I'm going to do is I'm going to probably bring these up like this. And I think they're separated enough, but I can go into them. And I think what I'm going to do is, for easier reading, is not give it a 3-line stanza, but also maybe just, because it's really describing the situation and the emoting the feeling or the situation to bring about emotions or feelings towards those things. So I'm going to give it this. And each line hopefully has a comma after it. So I'm going to read it again. Not only for you, but for myself. For my next meal, I inquired, what's on the menu, considering my economics, as the month comes to an end. And of course, I can do this. Comes to an end. I being with an ending. Watch a crayfish. There we go. It doesn't matter. Watching a crayfish encapsulated or being, or just saying as a crayfish is, I don't know. I was thinking the crayfish underwater. So what does that mean, an ending? As a crayfish hibernates, yeah. Let's see what they do. Hey Google, well, what do crayfish do during the winter months? Do they hibernate?
Crayfish do not truly hibernate in the winter, but their activity levels slow down dramatically. They become less active and seek shelter in deeper waters or burrows to protect themselves from the cold.
So, as crayfish seek dormancy. Now that's going to be a, or as dormant as crayfish, as dormancy, as a crayfish. And I think there are crayfishers, which mean people who fish for crayfish. And that's what I'm going to do a play on. Okay. So, sorry folks. Consider my economics as the mouth comes to a close, I being with an ending, as dormant as a crayfisher. Incubation as a little Easter. Incubation as a little Easter egg, just to make it easier. And I'm going to leave these open-ended. Incubates, how about that? As a crayfisher incubates the Easter egg. Easter eggs. I don't hate zygotes. I don't hate zygotes and seldom like lamb, though mutton is a dog. Or just say, easy, a mutton is a dog. Or isn't a dog. Or it isn't just a dog. And seldom like lamb, a mutton isn't just a dog, or a stone a poet throws up. As we develop into leaders, people of the public, Republicans of the Republic, that praises for their presidents, that praises their presidents, that praises, that praise, that praise for, that praise, praises, that praise, it's actually plural, that praise, the Republicans of that republic that praise for their presidents, agitating in the laundromat through politics, though politics are more sarcastic than they are polite to democracy. The dryer warms the linen garment. Sincerity is all the craze or rave. Rather is somewhere in between, if you're keen to hook the pitch, the jazz of gospel lyricists, the anger of the congresswoman, the lack of my legislation for posterity. So you see that there's an interweaving. And this, again, isn't just about the meal. It's about what's happening while thinking about the next meal, or thinking about, or not thinking about the next meal, but working towards the next meal, or processing what will be the next poem, or the meal, if you will. If a poem is a meal, hopefully you can feed on that because of the egg situation we're having. So that's really what that poem means. So Middle Eastern hummus, again, a food reference, but also has to do with the use of food as a universal figurative word to mean the palatability of poetry, as opposed to not only the Middle East but internationally, because Middle Eastern hummus may taste differently than just North American. So, my mother's last words of wisdom: don't take yourself as a hostage. I wake counting the reasons. How do I write poetry? Iconically commercial, using our narratology as a trend. The business of the today as a twist of fate. Don't let them keep or paint yellow wallpaper. Why do you create? To give life to the wastelands? That we have heaped upon educating the meritocracies, that we have heaped upon educating the meritocracies. Don't let them take your Palestine from my associate hearts. I love you where there is no. I love you to your first. I love you for my life. I love you where there is no. I write you for my life. My familia. And of course, I will take that out of there, and I will give you the same thing on the top to add to your you can add that word, whatever that word is. I love you where there is no. I love you. Oops, sorry. I'm trying to just connect, folks. Of course, I'm always editing. I love you where there is no. I write to you for my life. I write to you. I love you where there is no. Where there is no. You can even add no as a abrupt name or not. And I write to you for my life. Don't let them take your pale eyes, fertile mind, or that fertile mind of mine, or that fertile minds of mine, mind of mine. Grammatically, I ask of me selfishly, my spiritually or myself? My spirituality or myself? Of course, you can see that it's still new. So these are fragments, of course, and you can see that I'm still working on them to make them more consistent. Why do you create? To give life to the wastelands, to give life to the wastelands that we have heaped upon, educating their meritocracies. Don't let them take your Palestine from my associate hearts. I love you where there is no. I love you where there is no. I write to you for my life. Don't let them take your pale eyes or that fertile mind of mine. Grammatically, I ask of me selflessly, my spirituality or myself. Okay, so it's better the second time, see? All right, so that's the new book, and there's only 20 poems plus 5 more. That's 25, probably more pages. Or yeah, I'll be on the 25th page on that new book, and I hope you like it. So keep on reading, keep on writing. I'm going to change this to 17, and I'm going to save that so I don't forget to. And hopefully that'll save. Let's see, checking on it. There. Okay. Making sure things save nicely. And then we do another one for PDF. I'm kind of educating you why I'm doing this. Sorry, folks, but I hope it doesn't bother you. And then I can check on these things while I'm talking to you. And go over to this, downloads. So, and hopefully it doesn't stop our video, which I don't think it's going to. And again, 17 where it saves it, and that's good. So now we just X out of that. And we say thank you. And don't forget to look for my books on Amazon.com as well as Barnes & Noble, and where you buy ebooks as well as hardcovers and paperbacks. And again, they are reduced from 10 to 25 and even more % off. And I'm always thinking of you as the reader. So thank you for your time.